welcome to yet another episode of Disruption Talks, where we invite top experts to discuss digital acceleration, winning strategies, innovation, and scaling products. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, at least in Poland, and even just today. I know this isn't Unbox Therapy or any channel like that, but many Nidgurals, just like myself, will be receiving a very cool parcel from Santa today. So I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of LinkedIn posts, but not only from NetGurus and other companies to see what they have planned for this holiday season for their employees. But we're not here to talk about Christmas. We're not here to talk about celebrations. We're here to talk about the expertise of my guest. Please welcome Wicem on stage. Wicem Khedimallah from BNP Paribas, working on strategy and development. So let's dive in. It's great to have you.
Hi, Philip. How are you? Thank you for the invitation.
Pleasure is all ours. So, listen, I know a little bit about you, but I'm not sure that our audience does. So let's change that. Give us a short introduction about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So, hi to everyone. It's very nice meeting you. So, my name is Wissem. I'm originally from France, but actually, I left France when I was young. Not so young, but just after high school, when I was 18. So, I just moved with some savings and my backpack, and I moved to Australia, Asia for 1.5 years, traveling around. And after, I moved to North America. So I studied actually in Canada, studied engineering, and I also studied in Shanghai, in Taipei. I also work in Taipei, working for a French company called Carrefour in retail, working in digital transformation. And after I moved back to Paris, I worked for an insurance company called AXA. And after I joined BNP Paribas.
Okay. So you joined BNP Paribas. Let's talk more about the current role. I've looked at your LinkedIn. Of course, I looked at the LinkedIn of every of my guests, and I've seen that you're split between three different BNP Paribas entities, divisions: international retail banking, blockchain, and working with the VC startup ecosystem. Uh, could you walk us through it? And which one is your favorite?
Yes, for sure. So actually, I was very lucky because I'm a part of an internal team in BNP Paribas, which allowed me to switch from entity to entity and to change from different position. So I start from a very operational position. I work like as a product owner at BNP Paribas Personal Finance on a very cool, actually, green car simulator. We help our customer to find the right car for them, the greenest one, the cheapest one, and the one according to their budget, but especially the greenest one. So I'm very proud of this project. After I worked for BNP Paribas Asset Management for Hong Kong entity, especially analyzes and assessing some project for senior leader and XCOM in APAC, and working on blockchain project, but also doing some studies, some competitive intelligence, and also we worked also on robo-advisory, doing also some study, analysis, competitive intelligence. I worked also with startup and with our internal VC at BNP Paribas, looking for startup to work with, to invest. And right now I'm working for BNP Paribas leasing solution, and I'm working in the strategy and development departments. Same thing, doing some competitive intelligence analysis and studying some exciting company and asset to work and to invest in. So yeah.
And BNP Paribas leasing branch, or is that Arval? Or it's
Um,
something different?
let's say it's his cousin.
Oh, okay.
However, it's more about car, and leasing solution is about everything else, let's say. So it can be from manufacturing, from farming instrument, from healthcare, also medical equipment. So yeah.
Okay. So which one was your favorite? I don't think I heard that.
I mean, they were all very interested. I really enjoyed my time working on blockchain. This is this is an exciting field, an exciting technology to work in, and especially if you work in a large institution. Because actually, when you work on blockchain, you have many challenges. Many things are quite new. Technically speaking, in terms of IT, regulatory, legal, financial aspect, the business operation, but also at the same time, you need to democratize this technology also, which is not easy. And BNP Paribas is a bank, like any other bank in the world. This topic is very important. So frankly speaking, it's super exciting to work in this field, and especially when you work in digital innovation, because on one side you see how this technology is emerging, the opportunity that you can seize, but on the other hand, you have to democratize this technology and to face many challenges. So yeah.
And what was the biggest learning from all the stuff that you were involved in? I'm guessing blockchain was
Actually,
the biggest forward thinking, Web3 and all that, but maybe I'm wrong.
definitely. And actually, for me, like when you are working in this kind of project, of course you learn many things. Like when I say, and especially this kind of project where a lot of things are new. Like I said, technically, regulatory, um, and finance part, the operational parts. You need to integrate this kind of project, into your company. So this is very interesting, but also the democratization part is also super interesting also to work in, because this is a part of our job, and it's a very complete um, task and mission. So yeah.
We're actually getting some comments. My dad uses Arval, so great that we
Ah,
have people connected to the brand. Okay, so your role right now, um, essentially, you're like the captain of the ship, the waters of innovation. There's a storm. You're supposed to weather the storm of open banking, platformization, embedded banking, future of payments, digital assets, and blockchain. So, how do you steer this ship? How do you respond to disruptive trends? You see a big wave that's supposed to crash the ship, but you say, and what exactly do you say to that wave?
so yeah, so this is very interesting question, because before joining BNP or before joining any other company, actually, I always thought that the way companies spot this kind of innovation were like through complex calculation, through complex theory, from even from a magic hat. But I think we do the same thing, but I think in large company, what is different is the process that is more longer, like to implement a project. But I think the way we look at innovation, the way we look at new projects is pretty similar. We try to surround ourselves with, you know i- we try to understand our client first. This is very important. We try to understand what they need, what are the trends they are looking for. We need to very careful with that. We need to understand also our customer, our supplier, the industry we are working in. We need to surround ourselves with this very strong and innovative startup ecosystem, and like innovative people, which is also very important. you know we need to do the math also, see different projects, how it's going on. And sometimes also we look at what our competitors are doing. This is also part of our job. So yeah, so this is how we do. And um, and after, if you want to launch a project, generally you can launch a project internally, from someone who know his field, his customer, his industry. That's very important. And after, you try to build the project. So you see the use case, you do the math, you do the analysis, and you try to bring this project alive. So yeah.
Okay, so essentially what I'm hearing is that ship needs you with a great lunette to snipe out all the upcoming things. You need to have a trusty group of sailors, the people that you mentioned that are smarter than you in many regards, to simply, you always want to surround yourself with smarter people wherever you are, even in non-professional situations. So that's
Exactly.
that's a way to go. So, how do you select which ones of those strategic, sorry, so this innovation disruptions? should land on your strategic roadmap for BNP? How do you evaluate, like, okay, this is just going to be a buzzword? Maybe banking and NFTs right now are not the great thing, but I don't know, let's say opening up a portfolio of cryptocurrencies for some asset managers is. I'm not using those specific examples as the piece of information I'm looking for, but more of a selection criteria. Or how do you weed out the things that are just good on Google Trends for now, but not business viable?
Definitely. So I think there is interesting thing to look at. I think the first thing is the value the project can bring. This is super interesting. When I'm talking about value, I'm talking value with a big V. Not just the economic one. This is super critical. And I think another thing, especially when you work in large institution with complex system and sometimes legacy system, you need to see how this new project, this new initiative is going to be integrated with your other project and other initiative. So this is actually super interesting. This is super important. So this is what you have to do. So I think value and to see the ability and the capability of the project to be integrated. And I have actually a personal opinion about buzzword. So so this is what I think. Actually, of course, there is many buzzword, but I think people in the industry, especially people who are very interested about, they are reading every day what's going on. They do the math, they do the analysis, and people who have been here for decades. I think they saw many buzzwords in their career. This is what I think. And I think at the end of the day, I think people are not so naive. I think people do the math. And this is what I think, because at the end of the day, people are putting their money in the project, or people are putting their time, they're putting their reputation, they're putting their efforts in this. So at the end of the day, they do the math. And even maybe sometimes a project maybe looks nice, they have the nice buzzword. I think it would help the project at the beginning. At the beginning, the project will be, like more interesting to see. But at the end of the day, and especially in companies where you have to go through many process, we're gonna check and we're gonna do the math. And I also think that sometimes, when you look at a particular project with a lot of buzzwords, I think that sometimes there is always a reason behind this. And sometimes I think it could be at least a communication and marketing reason. So yeah. So what I think is people do the math. So yeah.
I think I agree. People are not naive, and you want the buzz. So if you want the buzz, you need to use buzzwords. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the only way to actually sort of shield yourself from the impact of falling victim to a buzzword is just being constantly in this tornado of noise. I mean, every day you start with TechCrunch, with Crunchbase, with Bloomberg, with everything, and after some time you just get the hang of it, and like an old pirate, you will know that that's a good thing or not.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So we've spoken about how you spot those trends. We've spoken about how you filter those trends. And now, once you've spotted, filtered, and you've chosen them, how do you go from an idea to development? How do you make it work when it comes to innovation and transformation projects? Because oftentimes, I think it was the CTO of WeFox that we interviewed here over just on Disruption Talks, or sorry, no, it was Enrico. He was the head of engineering at OLX, and he said that the thing about innovation is that many a times you're doing things the first time, and you don't have like a book to read about it, you don't have a blueprint, you don't have a friend to ask, you're doing it for the first time. So in such uncharted waters, how do you go from an idea to development to make it work?
That's very hard. That's a very hard. That's a very hard thing. That's super hard. And 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 this is a very important point, because I think it generates a lot of frustration in many companies and in many parts, because sometimes you have like this situation where you have the digital innovation team, the strategy and development team, and every day they are scanning the market. They are looking for new company, new asset, new project to launch. And I think people do great job. I think people do great job. I think people are passionate about what they're doing. People are very sincere and they want to launch this project, and they do everything for that. So they launch the project, they do the math, they do the analysis, they spot the best use case, and they present this project, this initiative to, depending on your company, but to senior leaders or to people that are working on the day-to-day operation. And they are very happy about that. It's a great idea, great. But at the end, the project, it's still not on the strategic pipeline. Why? And I believe that in this situation, we failed to bring this great initiative into a concrete operational, concrete project. And this is why, I mean, it will sound cliche, but I think you realize it really when you do the mistake. It's how it's super important to be as close as possible to the people you want to bring this value. So it can be your client, of course, but in a case when you want to do this internally, it can be the people that are working on a day-to-day operation, the senior leaders, the people who have been in the industry for decades, and how many times I was on my analysis, I was doing the math, doing the study, and just 30 minutes with a senior leader completely redirected my work. You know, this is super important for me. And the truth is, unfortunately, you cannot decide to embark on a project because McKinsey or another firm say that this asset will worth, or this project will worth millions and billions at the end of the day. It's really not enough. It's really not enough. And you need to see, for example, in the case you're working in a company, you need to see in depth what you are trying to bring, and you need to see in depth what your customer wants, but also you need to see in depth the relationship with the supplier according to this new initiative. You need to understand this very well. And there is also another thing. You need to have the big picture also. Having the big picture is super interesting, especially when you work in big companies, when you have many entities and many people around the world. When you're working on this project, is this project is going to impact another project on this strategy pipeline? Maybe the project that you are trying to bring is maybe in conflict, in objective, or in resources with another project. So this is super interesting to have this, to have this big picture. So yeah.
So I know that I see actually a question that spoke a little bit about what you just said. So Krzysztof asks if you could tell us, how do you sell the idea for the project to the traditional part of the bank, the teams that need to do the business as usual? How do you get them on board with their budget and resources on things which are still a bet, which are still an assumption that this will work out? So I'm guessing this is like a more detailed question to what you were just talking about. So what happens when there's maybe not necessarily a conflict, because that would suggest that we're in the negative territory, but how do you make sure that you're in the positive territory and don't overstep anything, right? When there are many things in the bank that needs to work, that make the bank that it is on everyday basis.
Yeah. So this can be related to banks, but also to other part. But
Yeah.
I think there is some do and don'ts, in what you try to do. And I think one good things to do. So accept the fact that you have to bring value, that you have to see the big picture, that that you have to talk as much as possible with different entity before bringing this project to life. One good thing is also to have a very clear and very strong sponsorship, because when you have this strong sponsorship, like sometimes you are working with senior leaders who have this big picture actually. they already have this big picture. They already work on this strategic plan, so they can see all the projects that are coming on.
True.
So this is very interesting. And when you have this agreement with your sponsor, things are getting more and more easy. So for me, it's super important before launching a project to have a very clear, target with your sponsor. So this is another thing. And I also think also in terms of do and don'ts, that is very important, especially in large company, to be to have your team as small as possible. What I mean is it's super important to to be surrounded with a team that can bring all your different information and all the different pieces. But being with a small team, it's allow you to be very agile and to be very speed, like to be very quick in launching an initiative. So this is super, super important, because what you want to do is you want to be efficient, you want to be quick, you want to be agile. So that's why you need all of this. Yeah.
So to recap, you're bringing value, you're getting buy-in from other people, preferably a small group, but also someone who is higher up. So someone who has like a meta vision
Exactly.
over other projects that are happening. Um, so yeah, did I miss anything? Value, buy-in, so like evangelism from people around you. And was there a third thing or?
Exactly. No, this is what I think, and there is also another thing also, but this thing is in terms of mindset,
Okay.
especially if you are working in digital innovation, in strategy and development. I think failed initiative is a part of our daily professional life, and fortunately, because if every five that we or every project we bring to the table maybe like will be implemented, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but
Yeah,
like sometimes,
I see what you're saying.
you see. So anyway, it's a part of our daily professional life, and I think we have to get used to it. And I think, we have to work hard. We need to bring value, create the best use case, do the best analysis, and go as far as possible in terms of sponsorship. But at the end of the day, I think if the initiative doesn't work, it probably means that you don't have the right frequency. When I'm talking about frequency, I'm talking frequency between the initiative you want to launch and the company, or like the atmosphere, the what is surrounding you. Frequency means many things. Many means like the resources, the timing is not the right timing for you to launch this specific initiative, is not the right time for the people, is not the right time in terms of value also, maybe. So when you're in this situation, you have to accept it and you have to move forward, and you have to choose wisely your battle, because actually in the world there is thousands and millions of other opportunity. So if it's not this one, it's going to be another one. At least you've been far, you try your best, but don't take it personally. Go to another project, go to another initiative. Yeah,
Yeah, I've read this quote recently that said something like, "If you don't spend time chasing the wrong things, how will you know when you're chasing the right ones?" Right. So,
that's pretty that's pretty
sound.
deep.
I mean, I saw it on Instagram, so there's a ceiling to how deep it can be, but I guess it just makes sense with what you said. So innovation that is beyond banking is what we read on BNP Paribas site on designing the bank of the future. We will pop it in the comments in a second. So I understand that as innovation stems from places of indirect yet still financial impact on our lives. So, I mean, I think it's difficult to find something that doesn't have financial impact on our lives, but I would place it in immediate first order effects and then second order effects. So I'm not dealing with banking instruments or banking services, but this still has a financial ripple effect. So, what would be a good example of this beyond banking?
Yes. So I think this is a very important part, because what we do can have like a major impact, like really. And so we have to realize that. And for example, I have something that is very personal, actually, and for me it's a very good example. For me, it's, you know, like cross-border, you know, person-to-person cross-border money transfer, also known as remittance. It's a very important topic for me. Like, I remember when I was young, you know, I always went to the post office or to the Western Union office with my dad with some cash, and I always saw my dad filling some, you know, this huge paper with numbers and things, and to send money to my family in Tunisia, you know. And I always remember that, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. This is, wow, this is, you know. And but to be more serious, you know, like remittance, for example, play a vital role in our society. And when you look at the situation, for example, and if we look at the figures according to the European Commission, you know, amongst the poorest country, remittance represent 10 to 30% of their GDP. If you look also at the United Nations, 1 to 9% in the world live through remittances. So remittance, as you know, remittance is a serious topic, you know, especially in time of crisis, in time of when people need this money the most. So, you know, this is a pretty challenging, you know, thing. Without going into emergency and crisis, you know, it's also important to understand, you know, the new needs of remittance and the new trends of remittance, what people are waiting for. For example, in terms of prices, you know, I mean, like the consumer demand for cross-border equivalent to the one made in domestic. This is very important. We need also to understand also that people want more choices of transfer services, because not all the transfer are the same. Some are priority, some are very important, you know, in terms of time. We need to have also, you know, to understand the visibility. You have to give clear visibility to people, you know, through all the payment process. You have to give them speed. But also, what is also important and what people want is a perfectly integrated system. It's like you can have a diversity of backhand, but what the customer wants is they want their money to arrive in, like, securely, in the best time. So that's what they want. So it's a very important topic, and I think remittance is a very good example for me.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. I remember even just this year, I think in April, I saw something about dLocal, a Uruguay startup that was valued at 5 billion. One of those things that they managed was, in fact, remittances. So, yeah, I mean, I don't want to call Western Union out in any way, but I mean, I think it's evident that they're the incumbent in this situation. I mean, the cross-border payment companies that we know as startups, scale-ups, hopefully unicorns, they don't have physical presences in every city in 20 places, right? So they don't carry that real estate weight. They don't carry the person in that place having to sit there all day to physically take your money, put something in the computer, just like you said about the long bill at the Western Union office, right, to send money to family in Tunisia. So I don't think that they have done that much, and perhaps it might be their Kodak moment. So uh, let's see. Let's see. Let's take out our crystal ball and predict a little bit. 2022. What are the major trends we're going to be looking at?
Exciting year. Yeah. It's going to be an exciting year, and I think so many trends. You know, so many trends are going to come, and I mean, like, for me personally, I think there is three major trends that, of course, there is a lot, but there is three major trends that I think will be it will be the continuity of 2021, but are going to be very interesting in 2022. I think the first one is everything related to ESG. ESG, positive finance, positive impact. I think this is really, really important. And in fintech, it can be, it can have many shape. You have, for example, everything related to payment and carbon offsetting apps. You have, for example, apps like Greenly or PayGreen. Very interesting apps. For example, Greenly, it's an app that connects to your bank account. You can see all of your spending, and they can calculate your carbon offset, your carbon footprint, and with that, they can give you the the, the best recommendation, to lower this carbon footprint. This is a very interesting tool, for people in their daily life. When we are talking about ESG and positive finance, positive impact, of course, we are talking about investment. There is actually a very interesting number from Morgan Stanley. Actually, 95% of millennials are interested in sustainable investing. So this is this is a great trend, and it will continue. And when I'm talking about investing, it can be investing through concrete projects, all around the world, or it can be investing through green funds. So green funds that provide ethical investment products. And in parallel with that, I think there will be a very strong demand. It's already the case, but it will continue. We will have a very strong demand from large institutions, banks, fintechs, and more of ESG analysis tool, ESG assessment tool. So, like in order to assess companies around the world, and and for us to be possible to invest in green funds. So this is a very interesting trend. Talking about trends, I think we can also see the trend of everything related to PFM, personal finance management tool. I think the way you interact with your accounts, with your financial information, need to be more interactive and proactive, and people are looking for that. And we can take the advantage of open banking actually to work on this field. Like today, it's possible to look at your account, to see your financial situation, and to give you highlights of what you actually spend. But you can go further. You can give advice to your customer. You can, for example, if they want to invest, you can give them like a target. You can help them to achieve their goal. So, you know, the interaction between the customer and their accounts and their financial situation, it's something very interesting. And of course, last but not least, I mean, I will not be like very uh, it's not something new that I'm going to say, but everything related to digital asset. I mean, um, 2021, 2022, I mean, it will be the continuity. So I think people are going to be more and more, people will have more and more accounts on crypto exchange platform, democratization of blockchain. People will understand better and better what blockchain is about. So, it will be the continuity. That's very funny, because actually I'm living in a small town close to Paris, and actually, like it's very funny because it's a very small town, and I just saw next to a metro an advertisement, like a poster, like talking about a crypto exchange platform. I mean, I was like, well, this, like things are. So yeah, so we can see the democratization of this, and I also want to underline what is happening also in terms of NFT also. 2021, 2022, it will be the continuity. And I think we will have, more and more initiative between, like the collaboration between the public and the funding of artistic products. This is what we are going to see. And actually, there is a very interesting news. It was last week, actually. I don't know if you know Niels Jules, which is the executive producer of the of the blog of the of the blockbuster The Irishman, directed by
Yeah.
Martin Scorsese. And actually, Neil Jules started his own production company called NFT Studio. So in order to fund a series of film, and actually he's aiming to raise between 8 to 10 million in funding by selling 10,000 NFT to the public and institutional investor. And investors have been told that they will get a cut, of course, um, of any box office product and licensing rights, but also they will have the possibility to visit the studio, to go to the premiere, to meet the actor. This kind of initiative between arts, culture, launching an innovative project and investment will be more and more. We'll see more and more initiative in this way, and this is great actually, because I think it's a perfect example of the power of digital assets. And I think like the ability for people to invest in any kind of project, let's say, in many projects, but especially in projects that they like, that they think important for them. So yeah.
Listen, you've said a lot of things, and I've made notes. I want to respond to them. I want to ask you further questions. But in order for that to be possible, I see that my charger has disconnected. So please allow
Oh.
me a second. And we're back in the
Yeah,
studio with a
perfect.
fully charged computer. So listen, you've said a couple things. I want to disagree, agree, and ask. So when you mentioned that according to Morgan Stanley, 95% of millennials are interested in sustainable investing, I wonder about the methodology of that survey, because 95% seems like, do you want to? Yes, I do. Right.
Of
So,
course.
I would love to see. I'm not disputing that per se, but I'm just saying that, as it is with every MVP or anything that you try to validate as a product, as a startup, it's not about whether people tell you that they're interested. It's whether they will actually put the money where their mouth is, right? Whether there actually be customers, they will hand over the money for the value that you're providing. So I'm pretty sure that it's a general sentiment that they don't want to say we don't care, we do care. Like if I can have a choice, but in terms of making a decision, if it's left or right, like if there's a trade-off, for example, if I have to pay more for a sustainable investing product, is that something that will still not change my mind with regards to what product I'm using? So I will be really curious to see how this plays out, because of course no one will tell you, no, I'm not interested in sustain. I don't care about the planet. Like we can burn. Nobody's gonna say that, right? So
Of
so so
course. Of
let's
course.
see about that. Personal
But
data and oh, sorry.
no, but you are right. Like you are 100% right. I think like if you ask to someone like, do you care, or if you don't care, like, I mean, like, it's very obvious. But what is interesting, I think, with this figure is to understand that like profitability only will not be the unique criteria. This is what I believe. I mean, like, profitability is one thing, and it's very important when you invest, of course, but you have also to bring other thing, which is also sustainability. So, like, I don't know if you see what I mean. Like, it's like invest like profitability only would not only be the only criteria. You know, investing in something that is sustainable, that can bring positive impact, you know, will be more and more important also.
And on the personal data and personal finance management front, well, of course, I mean, it's just that we have been growing more accustomed to seeing more and more data in every pieces of our lives. I mean, already, at least in Poland, almost every banking app, when you open it, shows you like this pie chart of you spent this much was on food, this much was on Uber, So it's sort of becoming an expected thing that you have some overview. So the deeper that goes, I know that, for example, the US has had this product called Mint, where you were able to connect all of your accounts and it would track your spending from across all of those. We didn't have that, for example, yet in Europe, but I think I just saw some app in beta. So of course, it's a no-brainer, and of course we need to grow. And with the digital asset front, with the NFTs, I was actually surprised that he's raising just 8 to 10 million. Uh, by selling 10,000 NFTs, 10 million on 10,000 NFTs. That's, first of all, that's not a huge amount of money for any movie production, 8 to 10 million. And second of all, 10,000 NFTs is a huge dilution. So I'm interested why such, I will have to research why such a proportionately low amount and huge dilution. But on that front, I don't think I think that people over focus on NFT, whilst NFT is just the tool, it's the train that's supposed to get you there. Whilst the final destination is the creator economy. I've been reading up on this interesting concept of you only need 1,000 true fans, right? So if you have 1,000 true fans who will spare $100 over a year for whatever you are creating, you're a writer, you're a musician, you are yoga practitioner, whatever it is that you create of value and you connect with people, NFTs are just a way of doing that directly and keeping the ownership without the intermediaries of an agency, of a music studio, or anything really. But I'm really digging this concept that I even heard this conclusion that whilst people are all worried about, okay, we will be replaced by robots, and that's the concern. Okay, but if many of the automated tasks can be replaced by robots, but for example, all of a sudden we see an explosion of creative and artistic expression and people doing things that other people enjoy, whilst we leave the boring stuff to the robots, and we still allow people to make money off what they create and bring into the world, it's a very interesting trend to follow the creator economy overall. Whilst NFTs are a huge foundation of that, uh, I think it's actually what the human condition wants, that the technology is just enabling here. What do you think?
Totally, yeah, I'm totally agree with you. And NFT, like you say, like blockchain, NFT are just tool. This is like we have, like the and actually this is very interesting, actually, because when you're talking about NFT, I think this is just something that we did before, that we did 20, 35 years, 45 years before. I think this is we have to understand that this is a question of everything that is scarce, on the market. Before, you could buy like your watches, like your Cartier watches for $10,000, just to show to the world that you have a 10,000 Cartier watch. Today we are in a digitalized world, so you can do like you can have your NFT, and you can show to the world that you have this NFT, because this NFT is unique. It's special. So between buying like a Cartier in 20 or 35 years before and buying this unique NFT, in terms of mindset, in terms of people, what they want, and how people are attracted to unique object, we don't have like many changes, so yeah.
And I think, just like you said, it's a tool. I'm pretty sure that when we came up as humans with the first hammer, we were hitting the hammer on everything that we could find. And just like right now, you can see NFTs everywhere. You can see CryptoPunks, apes, people changing their Twitter profile pictures. I actually heard that Twitter plans on implementing checking whether the profile picture of an NFT is the NFT that you own. So some first steps towards ownership. But in general, well, ownership of digital assets is something that will come. It's just that we're still waiting for the metaverse train to arrive, right? So the NFT solution right now is just that we don't see what it will have as a value when it has mass adoption, once
Exactly.
we actually are in the digital space and want to say, I own this, here's the certificate, right?
Definitely.
Okay, so maybe let's make sure that we don't turn this into a crypto blockchain podcast. Mm, I couldn't help but notice that there are a couple of interesting points of views shared on your blog on robo-advisors in China. Is robo-advisory a guaranteed winning formula for banks? You made some pretty good points and predictions on Chinese robo-advisors taking a bigger slice of the market, but I'm curious to hear it from you, not to conclude myself from the blog post, because I'm anticipating that, for example, in the private banking or the wealth management, there still is an expectation that you're not supposed to be robo-advised. But when it comes to the volume of retail banking, seems like a good solution for both parties involved, saving the money for the bank and getting stuff done faster for the everyday banking user.
Definitely, and actually, if we look at the general trends, there is a huge increase of use of robo advisor worldwide. So I don't want to drown you with the numbers, but it's very interesting to understand
Please.
how powerful this trend is actually. According to Statista, the number of investor using robo-advisor is expected to increase to 393 million by 2023, which is actually 3 times more than the pre-pandemic figures. To give you also another idea, the robo-advisor investment asset under management reached in 2021 1.37 trillion and will reach in 2023 $2.5 trillion, which is actually huge. And the interesting fact about this figure is they are positive and they are increasing all around the world. For example, there is a very great book that I recommend you. It's called Robo Advisory: Investing in the Digital Age. And according to this book, what they say is that of course the US is the most numerous market in terms of user, and with forecast of 1.5 trillion dollars in 2023. But there is also a very interesting market, which is China. You know, the market is expected to skyrocket. Still, according to this book, in 2018, in terms of AUM, we had like $90 million. But in 2023, we will have $880 billion. So this corresponds to an annual growth of 46%, which is actually crazy when you look at the number. And just to give you a number, just to give you an example, for example, at the end of 2019, December 2019, January 2020, actually, Ant Financial made a project with Vanguard. They created their own robo-advisor called Bangni2. And just after 1 year, they reached 1 million users. So actually, this is not a surprise that a lot of new competitors enter in the Chinese market in terms of robo-advisory, which is actually the market is very interesting, because when you look at the market, you have three categories. You have, of course, like the big tech monster, GD and financial, and you have also the historical financial institution, like for example, Bank of China, CBC, and you have another category that can be called tech giants and historical financial institution. They are like emerging. So yeah, but just to talk like more generally, like robo advisor are a great tool, and of course one of the reason is it's how robo-advisor drastically lower the entry barrier for new consumer and democratize the access to investment, of course. And regarding to this, we see a very strong trend among millennials, aged between 25 to 35 years old. But it is also very important to notice that we observe a shift also, and we see also an increase of utilization of robo-advisor between people with people between 45 to 50 years old. So it's actually super interesting, and when we see all the number, we can say that robo-advisor are a guarantee for banks, but it's not so easy. Actually, there is a very interesting paper from HSBC. They made a paper in 2019, And actually, HSBC estimate that robo-advisor services that charge 0.25% fees need approximately between 11.3 billion and 21.5 billion AUM to break even. And when the fee are higher, especially in Europe, for example, in some cases, when you have like 0.45%, a minimum of 3.5 billion AUM is needed to break even. So currently, not all the players can reach this level of AUM. So this is not surprising that many giants, and many some banks actually try to implement this kind of project, but they failed and they are still struggling to do that. Banks or other emergent player. But talking about bank, this is very interesting because you have this challenge, but you have also another challenge, like you said before. It's very important for banks and wealth manager, because because on one side, they want to say this opportunity of robo advisory, but on the other side, they have to keep their exclusive, their tailor-made investment image. So banks have to find the right balances between these two things. And another thing that I want to say about robo-advisor is every year the robo-advisor are getting better and better. The technology behind robo-advisor are getting better also, especially in terms of AI, in terms of models predicting the market. And we can see also another thing related to what we say earlier about green funds. We can also, make a combination between green fund and the interest that people want to invest in green fund, green asset, and robo advisor. So we will see maybe in the next future more and more, which is actually the case, but we'll see more robo advisor that will allow you to invest in green funds. So it's a very interesting field, to be honest, and actually it is actually very important, but it's a very promising field, especially like in the future. It will continue, yeah, definitely.
Well, to be just brutally straightforward about it, because of course, LinkedIn is a business network and we are in business, you are in business. It always is the fact that whenever there's a human being involved in a specific process, the costs go higher. And usually also the time can take longer. So it makes a lot of sense for banks to go on robo advisory. But I wouldn't only look at it from the fact of removing the push factors, but also the pull factors. A robo advisor, I suppose, has a much better handle and grasp on numbers and data than any other human advisor could. I'm not saying that people don't know what they're doing, but if it's a robo advisor, if it's a computer, if it's artificial intelligence dealing with so much data that a human couldn't even handle in one day, that it takes 1 second to process for the computer, I can easily see the upside. And about the Chinese market, I think that it's not just about the volume and not just about the perfect demographic fit, but also about sort of the fact that they have been trained towards such an approach with, for example, WeChat, from Tencent having such a huge adoption and people being involved in many apps that have this conversational approach to getting stuff done. Because of course on WeChat, it's not just about the WeChat, it's about the entire platform marketplace of all the other apps that live on that ecosystem. So completely makes sense what you're sharing. Although, just like you said, it's going to be quite some time until the robo advisor would be able to pass the Turing test. So I still want to make sure that I'm not just speaking with a computer, but I'm speaking with a bank that has some humans, just in case. Right?
But this is very interesting about your point. What you said about the relationship, like what you can have, like when you're working with a robo advisor, when you're working with a human investor. And this is something that we will see also, we will see more and more collaboration between, like robo advisor, between machine, between human and machine. But this is true, like we will see more case where investor will use more and more this kind of tool, to help them in their work. So this is a very interesting point. Yeah.
So we are closing on the hour that we have. So let's grab some audience questions. Then I have just some two goodbye questions that are not on such a serious note when it comes to tech or finance, but still curious to hear what you will say. So Ola asks, what is your number one tip for managing innovative teams in enterprise organizations in banking, for example?
Yeah. So I think this is a great question, and I think there is no absolute answer. Of course, it depends on the project that you are working on. So, so there is not an absolute answer, but what I think, and this can be applied to many projects and to many industry, is simple thing. I mean, like I think you have to surround yourself, like you have to surround yourself with good, healthy, honest, creative people, expert, very important. You have to know your market, be as close as possible to your customer, do the math. I think this is very critical, and you have to proceed things. You have to proceed incrementally and ask for feedback and watch the impact also and the decision that you are going to do, and watch the big picture if you want to implement it. But also, when you are implementing this, what's going to impact. This is super interesting. And another thing is, for me, like I said before, fight hard, do as try your best, go as far as possible. And if it doesn't work, it's fine to just go to another project, because there is thousands and thousands and millions of other opportunity in the world. So this is what I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the most important learning from any approach to failing or not failing is to not have the zero sum approach. That if I failed on this, the world is about to end. Not necessarily. There are so many opportunities in the world that you couldn't try all of them in your lifetime if you wanted to. So that's the learning here. Okay, so about the questions that are more general and lighter. Uh, what's your decision making framework with something that you could share for other people in your professional uh, equivalent in their lifetime? Uh, anything for other leaders to improve decision making? Like, what's your rule of thumb? Because of course you cannot analyze every situation step by step by step. You have to have like a machete to cut through all of the entanglements of every day-to-day life. What's your business machete?
Of course. So I think it's a recap of of what I said earlier, but I think, like, be clear with the goal at first. This is very important. um, when you work in a company, be clear with the goal and have the full support of your sponsor, because even after, when you will do the decision, you need someone to support this decision. So I think this is very important. Try to surround yourself wisely. Be with good people, honest people. People will give you the feedback. Be close to people that knows their market, that in their day-to-day operation, because at the end of the day, you can read all the annual report that you want. You can read all the report, all the figures that you want, but this day-to-day experience it's gold. Like, the expertise of someone who's been in this field for 10, 15, 20 years is gold. So it will be too bad if you don't talk with these people, and if you don't try to understand more what their experience are. This is what I think. I think in terms of process, when you are trying to work on a new project, I think you have to work incrementally. You need to be agile. You have to try things. You have to try your decision, be agile, working incrementally. I think this is very important. So yeah, this will be my general framework, let's say.
And now on to the last question. Last but not least, I hand you over a magic wand. Here it is, and you get to abracadabra that every 12-year-old in the world is gifted an education, not forced to learn anything. It's a terrible thing to do to a child, to make sure that they learn something that they don't want to. But what would it be? There's no right or wrong answer. We've heard many things: coding, emotional intelligence, financial prudence. But we've also heard don't teach them anything, let the kids be kids. So, like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. There's just your answer. I want to know what your answer is and why.
I think, like you said, there is many great answer. Coding, programming. You can, of course, but for me, I think the most important one will be history. It will be history. The history with a big H. History of the world. If the history of the of the languages, different language in the world, different history of the different culture that we have in this beautiful world, the history of, but also the history to understand that our planet has changed in recent years and has heated dangerously. This is also history. I think history is crucial because it will allow us to not repeat the same mistake of the past. It will also give us a lot of insight. It will give you also a lot of understanding about what people, about how we live together and to better understand each other in the world. Because at the end of the day, we make projects, we are working with technology, but at the end, what is it really important? The real thing is to improve our life. This is the real goal: to improve our life, to live together, to increase of like and to increase our happiness. So this will be my so if I had a magic hope, I will hope for that.
I mean, listen, I think we've done over 50 episodes and we're asking this question to every guest. So, I mean, after 50 abracadabras, something must change in the world. And at least, one of those answers should magically go into the brains of 12-year-olds in the world. But I'll be honest, I've never heard history before. So this is a first answer like that we ever had on this. And I agree, but then again, the child in me doesn't want to stop and look back at the history, but wants to run into the future and see what's coming. So listen, thank you so much for today.
Thank you very
Everybody
much.
in the audience, thank you as well for attending. If you have any follow-up questions, please make sure to reach out directly to our guest speaker. I'm pretty sure he'll be more than happy to answer more questions if anybody's interested.
Of course, definitely. Thank you very much for your invitation. Thank you very much for the NetGuru team. Very great team, actually. And thank you everybody who have been here today. It was a pleasure.
It was our pleasure. And I'm sure that we will see you on one of our bigger events where we have, for example, larger forums, because this is Disruption Talks, but we also have Disruption Forums. So keep your eyes peeled, check your inbox, because, I'd like to have you on one of those bigger events as well.
Great.
So, like I was saying, thank you, everybody. And see you next week on the following episode of Disruption Talks. See you next Tuesday, and thank you again.
See you.